on Paul Elam and NAWALTs. Now, of course, I'm several months late getting on this bus, but I have been thinking about this for several months now, even before I found MGTOW. Because I'm a trained skeptic, and because I like to try and be fair and see both sides of an issue, I do believe that Mr. Elam may have a good point. In researching this end, I looked up some divorce statistics and discovered that many marriages never end in divorce. So it can be said with factual support that not all women are like that. Yes, the percentage of marriages that last 2 or more decades is roughly 50%. So it can be said that at least half of all women are not gold diggers, as I have said before. So where does this leave men? I will say that I am discussing non-MGTOW topics here, and maybe venturing into traditionalist or even PUA areas of discussion. But I think it's important for MGTOWs to understand what is working for other people, and not to lump all women into the same damn category as feminists do to men. So what does the data and research say about marriages that work? There are a few factors that go into this, but I believe it is men selecting bad women to begin with that seems to be the root of the problem. Well, actually, the root of the problem is that at least half of all women are bad to begin with, and the societal pressures that used to exist to rein in the effects of their behavior on the people around them has been lifted. But what can men learn from others, from other men that do have successful marriages, to better select people to surround themselves with? So on to the report. To start this report, some of the basic things I have learned and acquired from years of education and research, this report supports. The median age for women to get married for the first time in the last decade is roughly 26 years old, while the median age for a man is 28. This supports the evolutionary psychology research idea that says women prefer a man to be about 2 years older than they are. This also supports my idea that between 15 and 25, don't trust or even care about what other people do sexually. Between 15 and 25, just screw everything that moves and assume that is what your partner was doing before they met you. Also, this report uses measurements that I just reasoned were the best ones to use. 15-year increments when discussing childbearing, and 20-year increments when discussing marriage. I have often said that biologically speaking, a marriage is only supposed to last long enough for two people to mate and raise a child to reproductive age. This takes about 15 years. So oddly, this report supports my long-held idea that women should have about 3 marriages in their lifetime, 1 every 15 years. Because this report uses the female age range of 15 to 45, which is the ideal reproductive age range for most women. This age range divides quite nicely into 3 reproductive chunks. That's an idea for another essay on another day, maybe even a whole other book, so moving on. After about 20 years, 50% of women's marriages end in divorce, while 1/3 of all men's marriages end in divorce after only a decade. This seems odd, but does support the idea that over a long enough timeline, your woman will get sick of you. Or at least half of all women will get sick of you. Over the last decade, the probability of first marriages lasting has actually gone up slightly, probably due to cohabitation, but has remained roughly the same for the last 40 years. About half of all marriages fail, for a number of reasons. And this report actually cites or mentions that cohabitation is helping to increase the number of successful marriages, but not for the reasons you might think. I'll get get to that at the end. For both men and women, first marriages that started before they were 20 years old had a higher risk for failing than marriages that were started after their 20th birthday. For both sexes, when they were raised by both biological parents until they were 15 years old, their marriages had a higher chance for success too. And oddly, this contradicts what most traditionalists say, but women who say they were raised in other religions besides monotheistic ones had a 2/3 success rate, while women who said they were Christians had about a 50% chance success rate, and women who said they were atheists had about a 40% chance of their marriages lasting more than 20 years. Women who had no children before their first marriage had about a 50% chance of their marriage lasting more than 20 years, while women that had already had a child before they got married had about a 1/3 chance of their marriage lasting more than 20 years. Women that had their first child with their first husband had a higher success rate, about 75%, than women who either never had a child with their first husband, were pregnant before they married, or already had a kid before they were married. Men follow a similar pattern with a slightly higher success rate. About 2/3 of men and women that ever get married have lived with a member of the opposite sex before they got married, and for prolonged periods of time. So this demonstrates if you were able to get a woman into your home and keep her there for 2 or more years, you have what it takes to get married. But the catch is here that marriages that are more likely to last are marriages where you never cohabitated with your spouse before you got married. So oddly, the best thing to do is just shack up with a woman and prove to other women you can attract and keep a mate, and then find another woman to marry. This is oddly most likely to succeed. If either sex has been previously married or has children from another marriage, then the chance for success is cut from roughly 50% to roughly 1/3. So if she has ever been married before, don't do it. If she has a kid from another guy, don't do it. The most interesting part of the report is it mentions race relative to divorce time. So white people take roughly 3/4 of a year from separation to divorce finalization. Latinos take roughly 1.25 years, while African Americans take the longest, roughly 1.75 years from separation to divorce finalization. More interesting information to note: foreign women had the highest success rate with marriages, with foreign Latinas being the most successful. Of American citizens, the breakdown was like this: Latinas lasted the longest in marriage, while Africans, or African Americans, had the shortest marriages, with whites falling somewhere in the middle. Oddly, the success rate for white and black men was the same. These differences only showed themselves when addressing women by race. So it seems there may be some validity to what many in the African American culture are saying about their women. Black women may be worse, and thus why they suffer so much from divorce. Also, this data seems to support what many men in the manosphere say about marrying foreign women, and oddly further supports my personal preference for Latinas, or chicas, if you will. Women with undergraduate degrees or higher had a better success rate than those with only some college or less. Men and women that had children previously outside of their first marriage had a lower chance of success as well. So what does this tell MGTOWs, MRAs, and PUAs? Well, here is the briefest breakdown of what I gather from this study. Select for a woman who is roughly 2 years younger than you. This is what the women prefer. Or select a woman older than 25. You want them to be foreign, especially Hispanic. If you cannot get foreign, then go Hispanic. If you cannot get Hispanic, go white, and try to avoid black women. Odd, the study does not mention Asians, but we can probably put them at about the Hispanic level, if not above. You want a woman that has no children, none of this baby daddy drama stuff, and you want a woman that has never been divorced before. You want a woman that was raised in a non-Christian home, and oddly avoid atheists. I personally hate saying this, but this is what the numbers say, and not me. You also want to select for a highly educated woman, as per Stardust requests, and also know that after about 20 years, no matter what you do, who you have chosen, and how hard you've tried, you have about a 50% chance of the marriage failing, of her just getting sick of you or you just getting sick of her. So plan on this, and take care of yourself, personally, financially, and psychologically. Now, Terrence Popp has a good video relative to this system and how best for men to exploit it. But there you go, gentlemen. This has been M's review of divorce statistics. Paul Elam does have a point. Not all women are like that. And we can say 50% of marriages, roughly, do work. So go with the winners, learn from the people who have success. If this is what you want to do, if you want to get married, if you want to go back to the plantation, if you want to procreate, these are probably some good guidelines to follow. At least, that's what the research says. So you gentlemen have a good day. Remember to always go your own way. Yours truly, M.